Bring out some of these mess.
Oh, see your mom got it.
Okay, good evening. Hello. All right, we'd like to reconvene to public session on Wednesday, March 15th, 2023, Board of Education regular meeting at 7:08 p.m. And if we would stand and salute the flag, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
Amen.
Recommend approving tonight's agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
First, Mrs. Isler, second, Mr. Lee. Roll call vote, Mrs. Isler.
Approved.
Mr. Nichols,
Approved.
Mr. Lee,
Approved.
and Mrs. Pugh.
Approved.
So approved. Recommend to approve the minutes of the Board of Education regular meeting of February the 15th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
First, Mrs. Pugh, second, Mr. Lee. Roll call vote, Mrs. Pugh.
Approved.
Mr. Lee,
Approved.
Mrs. Isler,
Approved.
and Mr. Nichols.
Approved.
So approved. Recognition of guest.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to see so many fine families here this evening. Without further ado, I would like to welcome North Laurel Early Learning Academy's principal, Mrs. Kendra Debbie.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting us to come and celebrate our bullpups. There's certainly much to celebrate. Our bullpups read 6,637 books. We had a Read Star month and celebrated by wearing red, showing our 100 days older and smarter, spent a day comfy and cozy reading. We ended the month in our Read Carpet Vest and had a school community-wide family reading day. All of this was made possible by our I Love to Read committee, Food Line of Laurel, who donated the bags for our reading vests, and Pizza King of Laurel, who donated pizzas to our top AM and PM preschool classes and our top kindergarten class. At this time, I would like to thank my reading committee and ask that they join me as we honor our top 3 readers from each classroom. Our committee included Jenny Beck, who was our chair, and tonight at our faculty meeting found out that she is our 2024 Teacher of the Year. Jen Hawk, Carrie Green, Lindsay Parsons, Elizabeth Lynch, Mallory Steele, Michelle Perry, and Andrea Henry. We also have a behind-the-scenes crew at Malayla, and they include Jordan Whaley, Mia Brown, Janet Hernandez, Carrie Miller, and Stacy Puerto. Hi, and now, please join me in honoring our Bullpup Star readers. As Mrs. Beth reads your name, please come up and receive your award and be recognized for your achievements. All right, I'm not a fan of a microphone, so we'll see how it goes. All right, so we're going to start with Miss Palmer's AM class. We had Hazel Hunter reading 144 books. Everly Greenwood reading 81 books. And Easton Phillips reading 50 books. We'll keep going. If you do hear your name, please come up and I'll keep going. Miss Culver's PM class, we have Daniel Peterson reading 120 books. And I'm going to keep calling in case Miss Culver, if you want to bring them all. Kate Lay reading 31 books and Julian Chavez reading 29. It's Daniel, right? Easton. It's Daniel. Easton. Oh, Easton, I'm so sorry. Okay, if you're in Miss Gove's class, listen for your name. And if you need mom or dad to walk you up, that's fine too. Miss Gove's class, we have Hudson Serrano reading 60 books. And Carol Lynch reading 44 books. And Jay Heater reading 28, and I'm going to read the PM class name too while Miss Gove is there collecting.
Next time.
And Camille Brown read 24 books in the PM class. Nice job, Rex. Come on over.
I said, come on, mommy. See a lot going on over there.
Nice job, Rex. Miss Carrie's AM class, Isabella Pusey, 35 books. Camden Moore, 34, and Roxas Boyce, 30.
Get the next two.
Nice job. All right, Miss Lynch's students, Elizabeth Betts, 98 books. Leo Spence, 52, and Addison Dickerson, 38 for Miss Lynch's AM class. And for Miss Lynch's PM class, we have Sadie Kinnigan reading 40 books and Rain Hammer reading 37 books. Okay, Miss Parsons' friends, turn your listening ears on because you're going to be next. All right, Miss Parsons' AM class, Mara Sheehan Bowen reading 71 books. Shannon Lynch, 61 books. And Ava Volcada reading 33 books. And Mrs. Parsons' PM friends, Mark Barrow, 67 books. Emma, Donna reading 20, and John Dickerson also reading 20. Pause for a pre-K photo opportunity as soon as we get everybody out front.
Can I have the board?
Can we say hi?
I appreciate friends are sitting down. Miss Andrew, Miss Dodger's friends, turn their listeners on. All right, first up from Miss Andrew and Dodger's class, Juliana Lewis with 70 books read. Lily Inger read 47. Harvey Norman's read 40. From Miss Blessing's class, Luna Burke read 43 books. Miss Davis read 20, and Aaliyah Gabrielle read 20. For Miss Brown and Miss Count's class, Elizabeth Nichols read 60 books. And Jacob Rawlings read 25, and William Cully read 10. Okay, for Miss Cooper's class, Brianna Diaz Cruz read 164 books. Mitch Stells read 79. And Brandley Joyner read 60. Okay, this is Miss Ranchino's class. Mason Vantine Patilli read 240 books. Cole Harvichuk read 159. And Isaiah Hill read 109.
You read a book a day of your life.
Okay, Miss Nietzsche's class, Mackenzie Stern, 160 books read. Colby Graves, 49. And Asma Arshad read 46. You'll be there in a minute. Okay, Miss Noble's class, Caroline Schneider read 401 books. This friend is here, Azarian Jones, 121 books read. And Kevin Gomez Jalal read 83 books.
I haven't seen them over there. They did a lot, right?
Again, I've never seen this.
Did the panoramic?
I don't even think I've
Okay.
ever again.
Miss Kayenga and Miss Hobbs' class, we had Lillian Smith. I see Miss Kayenga coming. Lillian Smith read 76 books. Arya Green read 71. And Tegan Hales read 60.
Over 20 books a day. Jam. Jam. I'm not a mathematician.
I don't think so.
Practice. What is the problem, man?
Okay, I'm gonna call from Miss Steele's class. Johan Diaz Cano read 191 books. Jayla Phillips read 128. And Monica Atkins read 58 books. And from Miss Webster's class, Adeline Algier read 91. Junak read 57. And Victoria Milligan read 45. Now we're going to do our photo opportunity for the kindergarten parents and the board to come up and get their photos taken.
One more cheese.
Okay, we just have one very special announcement. We wanted to go ahead and name the students who read the top 3 for our whole school. So we're going to start with 3rd place for Olive and Layla. Johan Diaz Cano read 191 books. And I don't think either of the other 2 are here, but we're going to announce their names. Mason Vantine Patilli, 2nd place with 240 books. And Caroline Schneider, 1st place for the school with 401 books.
Everybody. All right. That's crazy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, how about one more round of applause for our committee members up here, we have some certificates for you. I'm so sorry.
Put them in the mailbox.
I have another committee member.
Be chomping. Oh, okay.
Gary Green, Elizabeth Lynch, Alois Steele, Michelle Ferry, please, come to the podium.
Linda.
Aren't you coming?
Oh, I thought he said Janet. Wait.
What?
Janet, Brad?
Hey, you're fine.
Tracy. She's so busy talking.
Really?
Yes. You want the real answer, or what do you want? Do you want like the how we grew up answer? Yeah.
Okay, I would like to, it's so nice to see all these little young.
Yes.
Yeah. We already picked out the valedictorian. That would be.
I love little people.
Okay, board participation, Mr. Lee?
All right, good evening. No, that was pretty cool to see all the kids and families here, but I told Jana that I've never seen 401 books in my life. So, somebody read 401, she said, what about the library? I said, yes, I've never seen 401 books in my life. I don't think I ever went to the library, sorry. No, but thank you all for what you do, and you know, the reading instructors, I think that was cool. The time that they put in to spend with those kids, especially when they're not your own, means a lot. So again, we can't thank the educators, the administrators, the principals, and all that enough. So thank you all so much for what you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mrs. Pugh?
Yeah, I've said several times that the best teaching time and learning time is Christmas to Easter, between the breaks. So you're all in it right now. Embrace it, no matter how it feels, students and staff. Because it just dawned on me when I looked in here, when we meet back here again, it will be after spring break. Time is flying. So a lot of good things are happening, and thank you for that.
Okay. Mr. Nichols?
I have seen 400 books. Matter of fact, I love to read, and when I see kids like this, I really, you know, I don't know how to emphasize to them what they're getting ready to get into. I mean, if they really get into reading, it's one of the best things in the world. There's no commercials. Nobody tries to sell you anything. You can take a break and go to the bathroom, or you can take your book with you, and you can get it all done. And I just love that. And I love to see the kids doing it. So if you guys keep encouraging the reading and stuff, that really is great. That's all I got.
Thank you. Mrs. Edlund?
This is awesome. Just, you can even see like the excitement, even though some of them, you know, were a little timid, a little shy, but the excitement of when I was watching as Dr. Larimore gave them their little certificates, you just, their faces kind of, except for the ones that seemed a little fearful, but most of them, they were just like, you know, some went to skipping over or whatever. But reading is such an important part, even if the books weren't literally read by the student, but of course by their levels, but someone was reading them to them. That is so important, setting that foundation of just, as they say, within every book, there's an adventure. So it's just so important to, as this age, to catch them and to encourage them. And hopefully that they'll hold on to that, because they start losing it around middle schoolish or whatever, all these other things are out there, but that's okay. But while they're here, we're celebrating at this point, and it was just wonderful to see so many of the students that had participated and the number of books that they had, the goals that they had reached. That was just wonderful, just wonderful. And the other thing is, I don't know if I might be like, y'all stop me, Sean, if not, but the election for the school board is right around the corner coming up.
May 9th.
May 9th, and I am running once again, for my seat, to file for my seat again. So I would appreciate all support. So tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, and tell all your friends. I'd appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, just 3 things here. On Friday, we celebrated Gina Volges. She received
Oh, yeah,
the award.
that was great. I forgot about that.
And forget what the award is, National for
Assistant
Delaware.
of the Year for Delaware.
Vice Principal, yes, we celebrated that. Last night, we celebrated the Winter Sports Athletic Banquet, receiving their awards. That was a great turnout.
Yes.
And then today, I noticed that our football team, back-to-back champs, was at Legislative Hall. And so they were taking, I guess, Representative Tim Dukes and Senator Pettijohn invited them up there, so they got to tour and talk with the governor. And anyway, great, celebration with that. Great pictures that I saw. So now we have public participation, and I have to see the first person that would like to speak is Angie Cunningham, and Mrs. Isler will. Mrs. Cunningham? Okay, and are you aware of the policy? Okay, so Mrs. Isler, once you say the first word, you'll be timed 5 minutes will start.
Yes, when you are.
Many parents are afraid to speak out at school board meetings. Parents that dare to speak up have been targeted, even labeled as terrorists for simply raising concerns about our children. We are told what we can and cannot say, who we can and cannot call out at school board meetings. Should our children not be given the same respect? They go to school, they're called out, they're bullied, they are attacked. A school board meeting allowing the public to speak creates a designated public forum. Freedom of speech is therefore protected. The public must be allowed to speak about any matter within the school board's authority. A year and a half ago, I stood at this very podium and I pleaded with the board and the superintendent to implement changes due to the amount of violence happening in this district. Someone near and dear to me a year and a half ago suffered a traumatic brain injury after being assaulted at this middle school. Her life, along with her family's life, has been drastically changed. Every day is a challenge for her in many ways. Her life will never be the same. The 2 students who attacked her and beat her and hit her repeatedly in the head, they still attend this school district. Their lives have had no impact at all. Imagine if that were any of your children. I'm sure that you would be quick to make changes. Just last week, a student was beat over the head with a crime book in this very school. So here we are, a year and a half later, the violence continues. It is time the board members and the superintendent be boots on the ground, get in the schools, provide support to your staff, and take back control. Right now, the violent students have all the control. There's a page on Facebook that is dedicated to posting all the fights that are reported in the Laurel schools. In Delaware, the average salary of a superintendent is $145,000 a year. It is time to stop allowing someone to collect a paycheck that comes from our taxpayer dollars. They need to earn their pay by protecting our children. We need to put prayer back in our schools, hold the violent students accountable. 3 to 5 day suspensions are not punishment. The kids actually enjoy being suspended. They need to be expelled. Stop allowing cell phones in the school. Make them leave their cell phones at home so they can focus on learning and getting education and not recording every child that is attacked and then playing on social media. Every child is entitled to a safe environment in which they can obtain an education. I am sure my words will once again fall on deaf ears because it has been a year and a half and no changes have been made. Therefore, I have contacted the governor's office to express my concerns. I have also been reaching out to the news media to get the story out there of the violence in this school district. We the parents need our voices heard. Our children's safety depend on it before one more child suffers permanent damage. I encourage all parents to please speak up, do not be intimidated, do not let them silence you. We need to stand up for our children. Enough children have been violently attacked in the school district. We need competent people in place to protect our children. I am pleading with the board members to please hold the superintendent accountable to protect our children. Please, I beg that you hear our voices today. Our children have suffered enough. Mr. Superintendent, I am asking you, please do your job. Unfortunately, we the parents do not have the choice to vote in. It's the little boys club. You get picked by your fellow board members to get your contract renewed. But hopefully the board members will hear us and hear that we need help, our students need help. It is not easy to watch your child become a totally different person from a brain injury because she was attacked to simply trying to get an education. So Mr. Superintendent, if you cannot do the job, please step aside and let someone else do it. Board members, if you can please hear us, make the superintendent do his job. If not, hopefully, to quote the greatest president in our history, Donald Trump, your words, you're fired. Oh, you think that's funny?
Sorry, it's
I'm
just,
talking about a child with traumatic brain injury. You think that's funny?
I thought Donald Trump being called the greatest president was very funny.
Well, he
I agree.
is, okay? But I should have the respect to get through my speech talk anymore. Thank you.
Thank you,
you.
Mrs. Cunningham.
This is why we can't have the kids expect respect, because you can't respect the parents.
I sat there and listened to you berate me.
I didn't
and-
berate you, I said
No,
stay in
you
the
called for
past.
my dismissal, okay?
I did
Mrs.
what?
Cunningham, you called for my dismissal, right in
I
front
did
of
not.
me.
I asked that you please step up and help the children.
No, you asked I step aside and let someone else
Because
lead.
your child
Mrs.
is
Cunningham,
being
let me just ask you this, okay?
Sure.
Of all the media outlets you contacted and all the phone calls you've made and all the emails you sent, have you ever called my office and asked for a meeting with me? No,
Oh, yes,
you have
I
not.
I have twice, yes, sir, and I talked to you a year and a half ago when this
Do me a
happened.
favor, if you would so do me the pleasure,
I will.
please call one more time, and I'll make sure that we sit down and have a conversation, and you have no reason to be fearful, trust me. But I don't
I'm
appreciate
not
it.
fearful at all.
Well, good. Well, you intimated that people are fearful of coming forward.
They are. If you read the Laurel social media page, they are concerned about their children, but they're afraid to come forward.
We have great teachers, we have great students, we
You
have
do,
great,
and
great
you do
families,
support.
and to come in here and disparage everything that we do is short-sighted at the very least. So I would love for you, to come, I would love for you to contact my assistant, Mrs. Laurel Lewis, and please schedule an appointment, and I'll meet with you straight away. I promise
Sure,
you.
I have no problem doing that. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we have Miss Amanda Meads. Okay, and Miss Meads, are you aware of the policy?
This is actually my first meeting.
Okay, well, welcome. Continue to come, seriously. Okay, the board participation, this permits you to speak up to 5 minutes. And each person wishing to address the board will be afforded the floor for up to 5 minutes. Person wishing to speak for a longer period must arrange for a place on the board's agenda. Persons wishing to be placed on the agenda shall inform the superintendent that desire in writing and the topic no later than 3 full working days prior to the day of the regular meeting of the board, and we normally meet the third Wednesday of each month. Speakers may offer objective criticism of school operations and programs, but the board will not hear complaints about school personnel or other persons at a public session. Other channels providing for board consideration of complaints involving individuals exist and shall be used. The board president has the authority to terminate the remarks of any individual who does not adhere to these above rules. So as soon as you say your first word, Mrs. Isler will push the time.
Good evening. It has come to my attention that currently there is no organized, unified group of parents and teachers for Laurel schools. Common labels for these types of groups are PTO or school booster clubs. I would like to propose we establish a PTO for the Laurel School District as a whole. This would be defined as a group of parents, teachers, and staff members that would meet once a month to discuss topics such as the Kaplan visit, fundraising opportunities, parent volunteer needs, and concerns and goals for their respective campuses. The goal of this group would be to strengthen the relationship between parents, staff, and students, provide support to the individual schools within the district, as well as open the lines of communication between parents and teachers to better influence school atmosphere and morale. I truly believe that once we gather together as a community to improve our schools, we will experience a positive change, not only within the buildings, but within our students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I do want to say, I believe, Mr. Brady, don't you have,
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yes.
I'm not sure what school, I know you said schools as a whole,
Yes.
but I know that Mr. Brady over to Laurel Elementary, they have,
Small PTO, and we would love to.
That's what I was about to ask her to, what's her name?
I will say, my idea mostly stemmed from the middle and high school. I also see great concerns amongst the students and teachers, and this is what I thought could be a great first stepping stone.
Absolutely.
To make a unified voice that could come together cordially and try to effect real change.
absolutely.
Ms. Means, I agree with you 100%. Can you get your contact information to Mrs. Lewis before you leave and be in contact with you? I like the idea about having a district-wide meeting. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, financial report.
How are we doing?
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
The accomplishments since our last meeting, the local funds audit for FY21 was issued. We had no findings. And our financial position report for February 1st was submitted to DOE, and also our ESSER annual report was submitted to DOE. Things we have coming up, we have a new local funds audit to start for FY22. And our school construction audit for FY20, we still just have the draft report, so we're still waiting the final. Our security cameras upgrade in Laurel will be scheduled to be installed over spring break. And our enhanced MCI allocation of $275,000 from the state won't be received until we have spent all of our FY23 regular MCI funds. So that won't be until most likely the end of the calendar year. And our year annual report is due to DOE on April 28th, and our financial position report is due to DOE on May 1st. And once again, as I do each month, there is a snapshot of our reserve fund, keeping in line with the prior year. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have no unfinished business, new business, school choice. Recommend approval of school choice as a group.
So moved.
Second.
First, Mrs. Isler, second, Mr. Lee. Roll call vote, Mrs. Isler?
Approved.
Mr. Lee?
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh?
Approved.
And Mr. Nichols?
Approved.
So approved. Recommend approval of school choice as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
First, Mr. Nichols, second, Mr. Lee. Roll call vote, Mr. Nichols?
Approved.
Mr. Lee?
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh?
Approved.
And Mrs. Isler?
Approved.
So approved. Fundraisers. Recommend approval of fundraisers as a group.
So moved.
Second.
First, Mr. Nichols, second, Mr. Lee. Roll call vote, Mr. Nichols?
Approved.
Mr. Lee?
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh?
Approved.
And Mrs. Isler?
Approved.
So approved. Recommend approval of fundraisers as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
First, Mrs. Isler, I believe. Second, Mrs. Pugh. Roll call vote, Mrs. Isler?
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh?
Approved.
Mr. Lee?
Approved.
And Mr. Nichols?
Approved.
So approved. Reynolds. Recommend to approve the request of Amy Proctor, Trina Foundation,
Trinity.
for use of Laurel Middle High School gymnasiums and concession stand to host Big Pink Volleyball Tournament to raise funds for Cancer Care Center in Seaford on Saturday, April the 22nd, 2023. It's a day-long event. Cost is $200 per team of 8. Equipment requested, microphone, sound system, and scoreboard, and the certificate of liability insurance has been submitted.
I recommend approval with use of facility fee, custodial fees, and school constable fee applied.
Okay, first by Mrs. Isler,
Second.
second by Mrs. Pugh. Roll call vote, Mrs. Isler,
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh,
Approved.
Mr. Lee,
Approved.
and Mr. Nichols.
Approved.
So approved. Recommend to approve request of Matt Wood, Laurel High School, for use of Laurel High School cafeteria and classrooms to host Summer Ag Teacher Conference for professional development for Delaware Ag teachers on Tuesday, June 27th, 2023, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Equipment requested is microphone, sound system, projector, and screen.
I recommend approval of use of facility fee and custodial fees waived.
It's first by Mrs.
Second.
Isler, second Mr. Lee. Roll call vote, Mrs. Isler,
Approved.
Mr. Lee,
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh,
Approved.
and Mr. Nichols.
Approved.
So approved. Recommend to approve the request of Amanda Klein and Lena Betts Dunn, Laurel Women's Civic Club, for use of the Laurel High School auditorium to host Miss and Little Miss Laurel pageant practice on Wednesday evening, May 10th, 2023, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Equipment request is microphone, sound system, and piano. The certificate of liability insurance is on file.
I recommend approval with use of facility fee and custodial fee waived and technology fee applied.
Second.
Okay, Mrs. Isler, second Mr. Nichols. Roll call vote, Mrs. Isler,
Approved.
Mr. Nichols,
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh,
Approved.
and Mr. Lee.
Approved.
So approved. Professional trips. Recommend approval of trips as a group.
So moved.
First, Mr. Nichols,
Second.
second, Mr. Lee. Roll call vote, Mr. Nichols,
Approved.
Mr. Lee,
Approved.
Mrs. Isler,
Approved.
and Mrs. Pugh.
Approved.
So approved. Recommend approval of trips as submitted.
So moved.
First, Mrs. Isler,
Second.
second, Mrs. Pugh. Roll call vote, Mrs. Isler,
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh,
Approved.
Mr. Nichols,
Approved.
and Mr. Lee.
Approved.
So approved. Jewel litigation, national settlement offer allocation. Recommend to approve the Jewel litigation national settlement offer allocation for the Laurel School District as submitted.
So moved.
First, Mr.
Second.
Nichols, second, Mr. Lee. Roll call vote, Mr. Nichols,
Approved.
Mr. Lee,
Approved.
Mrs. Isler,
Approved.
and Mrs. Pugh.
Approved.
So approved. The first reading of the 2023-2024 school calendar as submitted and found on the district website and as found at the Laurel School District sites. The school calendar will be available for review by the community at the Laurel School District buildings and on the district website. Community input is welcome and should be directed to the superintendent of schools no later than Tuesday, April the 18th, 2023. No items, policies, resolutions for review. Executive session items, personnel, attachment A, professional. Recommend approving the personnel recommendations as listed in attachment A.
So moved.
First, Mrs. Isler, second, Mr. Nichols, roll call vote, Mrs. Isler?
Approved.
Mr. Nichols?
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh?
Approved.
And Mr. Lee?
Approved.
So approved. Personnel attachment B, support. Recommend approving the personnel recommendations as listed in attachment B.
So moved.
First, Mrs. Isler?
Second.
Second, Mrs. Pugh. Roll call vote, Mrs. Isler?
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh?
Approved.
Mr. Nichols?
Approved.
And Mr. Lee?
Approved.
So approved. Personnel, coaches, recommend approving the personnel recommendations as listed in attachment C.
So moved.
First, Mr. Nichols, second, I believe, Mrs. Pugh?
Second.
Yes.
Okay, Mrs. Pugh, roll call vote, Mr. Nichols?
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh?
Approved.
Mrs. Isler? And Mr. Lee?
Approved.
Got a Mrs. Nichols here.
Yeah, I got another one home.
Okay, personnel attachment D, cafe, recommend approving the personnel recommendations as listed in attachment D.
So moved.
First, Mrs. Isler,
Second.
second, Mr. Lee, roll call vote, Mrs. Isler,
Approved.
Mr. Lee,
Approved.
Mr. Nichols,
Approved.
and Mrs. Pugh.
Approved.
So approved. Okay, the next regular board meeting will be Wednesday, April the 19th, 2023, right here at 7 p.m. Do I have a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
First, Mrs. Isler, second, Mr. Nichols. Roll call vote, Mrs. Isler,
Approved.
Mr. Nichols,
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh,
Approved.
and Mr. Lee.
Approved.
And we adjourn at 7:54 p.m. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.